this video we're going to be playing Dreams for PS4. Dreams is a creativity tool that allows you to create your own games, 3D models, characters, animations. If you can dream it, you can make it in Dreams. This is episode 59 of our Dream series, so we're almost episode 60. That'll be pretty cool. What I am going to be doing today on the stream, I guess, is really up to like what I want to create in Dreams, and whether or not like Kaylee or Kratos are free to do like a challenge. This is something I was working on for work earlier today. Yo, it looks like somebody's joined in on the stream. Welcome, it's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? I might show you guys this little tutorial level thing that I'm making for work. Before I do, I'm going to pull up the live chat on my computer. That way I'll be able to see what you guys are saying in the live chat, just in case the PS4 live chat stops working, which does happen quite often. Boom, boom, boom. Also, I apologize if you guys hear any extra sounds in the background. There's like a neighbor's dog is barking, and then another neighbor is like playing like music because it's like Friday. Also, the mouse on my laptop doesn't work anymore, so I'm having to use my finger to like push stuff on the screen. So I keep just hitting to open the video. There we go. I keep hitting to open the video so that I can get to the live chat and open the live chat up. And every time I tried to do it, my finger would just hit something else. So I kept like copying the video link instead of clicking it. It's a mess. But now I have the live chat up on the screen to where I'm able to see the whole live chat. Now let me show you guys this tutorial level that I'm making for work. Instructions. Use the left stick to move and use the cross button to jump. Defeat viruses by jumping on their heads. Collect a certain number of stars and use the purple gateway to complete each level. Instructions continue. Avoid the hazard code, aka the purple slime. Mission objective. The system has been alerted of an incoming ransomware attack that will restrict access to all files. Collect all the stars to create backup files before the attack hits. I have little arrows that show you where to go. You collect these little stars that are scattered around the map. I'm actually going to collect these stars that are down here first. I think I could put purple slime around on the ground under these platforms, and it would make like running on the platforms be a way for you to avoid the slime. I can't believe I missed such an easy jump. Tip. That gap is too wide to jump across. Try using the bounce pad to add height to your jump. Warning. Viruses ahead. Jump on their heads to eliminate them. Don't let them touch, hit, or shoot you. I immediately got hit. Goodness. I do think that first enemy encounter can be a little tough. It used to have 5 enemies in it. I mean, technically it still does have 5 enemies in it. Because I added the shooting enemies to it. And that is the tutorial so far. I want to add one more enemy type to the tutorial that I don't currently have, and I also want to add the purple slime. Cynical Stuff said, hey, yo, Cynical Stuff, welcome to the stream, it's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? Let's see, I'm going to add some hazard code, which is just like some hazard goo, to this tutorial level that I'm making. He said it's Ouija. Oh, hey, good to see you, Ouija. Welcome. You know, I was watching a YouTube video the other day that was talking about like the speedrunning community, and there's like a popular speedrunner whose name is Ouija, and I thought about you. I was like, oh yeah. I just realized where I place this isn't necessarily where I think I would want it. I mean, I guess this is fine. This is like a fine place to put it. Because there's a star there, so you can't put it like on the star, then you couldn't get the star. Ouija said, cool. Let's see, how's your day today? Oh, I got tongue-tied. How's your day today, Ouija? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? Let's see. By putting this hazard goo around the map down here, it will make it where players have to be smart about how they navigate the environment. Ouija said, day's been good. That's good to hear. And then he said, day's been goo. And then he corrected it to good. There we go. So I'm almost done creating these like little slime paths. I mean, I could stop the slime there. There doesn't really have to be more slime than that. I want to add another path, maybe one that's like down here, that leads to a different enemy type. There's a type of virus that like follows you around and drives, but the issue with using that virus in particular, by the way, this game takes place in cyberspace, so all the enemies are called viruses. Oh, Volt just said, yo, what's good? Yo, Volt, welcome to the stream, it's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? Right now, I am working on a level for work. This is the tutorial level for an educational platforming game that I'm creating. The game takes place in cyberspace. You play as a cybersecurity avatar, and you're on a mission to try and help save cyberspace by collecting these stars. And collecting the stars represents doing like different tasks within like cyberspace. Like in the tutorial level, collecting all the stars is the equivalent of backing up all your files in preparation for a ransomware attack. Like, you know, a ransomware attack is coming, so it's like I gotta back up all the files so that the ransomware attack doesn't restrict access to everything. Like, we can just load the backup. Godzilla said, my friends are awesome. Yo, Godzilla, welcome to the stream, it's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy and any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? Ouija said he'll be right back. Okay, Ouija, see you when you get back. Chickadee guy. Volt said, my day is going good. How about you, man? Fantastic as always. Thank you for asking, Volt. I find myself continually looking down at the laptop, even though the PlayStation 4 chat is still actively working. So I'm like, maybe I should look at the PS4. Volt said, and that seems interesting. He said, it looks really good. I'm glad that you're vibing, Volt. Everything that I'm making in Dreams, by the way, I make remixable, so that you guys can go in, remix it, and like use it for your own ideas. I also have a big collection that I made of all these assets. So if you didn't want to remix the whole level, you just wanted to like use assets from the level, that is also entirely open and available for you to do. Let's see. So I'm going to want to have a computer terminal set up that's going to talk about like these viruses that you're going to encounter on these platforms out here. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna wall off this section to where the viruses don't just immediately eat shit and die. Because I've tried to use these enemy types before and they like fall off the world. This is that big collection I was talking about that has all the assets and everything. Volt said I'm redoing level design for most of the levels in Jerry, but after that is done, I think I'll be ready for it to be played. Nice. So this is an invisible wall. So I set it to where I'd be able to actually see it so I could position it properly. I'm glad to hear that you're making good progress on your game. And it's cool to see the Jerry meme progress so much into a full-on game. Let's see. Part of the reason why I'm using invisible walls for this section in particular is because I don't want to have to match the circuit patterns around the edges of this walkway or whatever. Yeah, the wall is so weird. So that one's like crooked. I'm gonna try and line it up a little bit more. And you may notice, even though these are invisible walls, they still have like moving like circuits on them. I guess you can't really tell that they're moving circuits, but you'll see momentarily. Godzilla said, collide the air. And then he said, give it collision. So the wall does have collision. So you already have a thing where if you were to run into this, it would like stop you. This wall is a little bit longer than I would want it to be. Yeah, to the point where it could actually interfere. See, the issue is that the enemy type I want to use isn't smart. So it'll straight up run off this walkway trying to get to the player, and then I'm like, well, it'll kill itself, so there's no reason to use it. Bob Maker said hi. He said search DRS tail demo. So I do requests to like play people's games on Dreams. I only do those requests if you submit to the super chat. Also, aren't you just Danny88 Games, just with a new name? So you gotta donate to the super chat if you want me to like check out your thing. Also, let me cut off viewing invisible stuff. So I don't know. I want to show off a specific like enemy type, and at the same time I'm like, I don't know how to organically do it. Like to have the enemy type be in and for it to work. I may just not even use that particular type of enemy. Bob Maker said, I'm not Danny88 Games. I noticed that on the YouTube live chat, your icon has the Danny88 Games guy. And then he said, I'm fan by Danny88 Games. Okay, cool. I'm glad that you enjoy Danny88 Games content. But like I said before, I'll check out your request if you donate to the super chat. I was thinking about adding a new enemy. I may not add that new enemy. But what I can do instead is test the level now that I've added the hazard code. There we go. I'll start by trying to collect these first. Being careful not to run into the slime. There we go. And now when you're up here, it's more dangerous to fall because there's all that slime over there. almost did it without getting hit, but I got shot during that last moment on that platform with the turrets. Got me. But yeah, this is supposed to be the first level of a cybersecurity educational game that I've been working on. Godzilla said, boss fight. He said, you should add a boss fight to level 1. I mean, this kind of already is like a boss fight. He said maybe a Trojan at the end. Like a Trojan horse. I mean, I would say this is almost like a little boss fight. Because you have to fight like these 3 guys all at once. And you have these 2 guys shooting at you the whole time. And then you jump up here. And now you're like front and center. Like these 2 guys are shooting at you while you're trying to collect all the stars. Like I feel like this is almost like a boss fight. Because you have to collect all 22 stars before you can like leave the level. And Godzilla said because it's like a Trojan virus thing. I'm aware with like that. I'm aware of like what you're describing, Godzilla. So right now, the only enemies I really have are like these chompy guys and the shooter guy. Because the other enemy I wanted to use doesn't really work for this one. Volt said, any suggestions for how I could possibly spice up levels? They're not all indoors, and the platforming is mainly a thing that you have to... Wait, hold on. And the platforming is mainly a thing that you have to do to grab ammo and health pickups. So, when it comes to level spice, right? I would say skyboxes are like a really big deal. Color grading is like a pretty big deal, and music is a pretty big deal. Like just for like aesthetic, I would say those are like the 3 main things. If you're talking about like level design, kind of spice it up, I've started doing stuff like adding arrows to my levels to be like, hey, you know, this is where you need to go. That way players are less likely to get lost. If I want players to interact with like specific things, I'll try to place like collectibles that are needed in order to beat the level next to those things. Like if there were no collectibles on this bottom floor, you would just only go up here and do all the platforming and you would just skip the bottom floor. But because there are also collectibles on the bottom, it forces the player to have to interact with these like hazards that are like on the ground. Also, by putting the hazards under these platforms, not only are the hazards for people running on the ground, they're also for people who are like jumping on the platforms, and it gives you more incentive not to fall. So it's like one set of hazards actually acts as hazards for both levels of gameplay. So I think that's kind of cool. But there are like a lot of little things that you can do to really like spice up a level and make it interesting. One thing that I really like that I did earlier today was how I positioned these enemies. They're positioned in such a way to where you kind of have to pay attention to all 3 of them because you have attacks coming from like multiple directions. You have to be really careful. I originally had an enemy also in the center and also in this corner, and it was a mess. It was that you would just die over and over again. It was really hard actually. But when I shrunk it to just those 3, it was one of those less is more situations. Jack Slash said, what's up? Yo, Jack Slash, one of the streamers, good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy and any discussion topics you like to talk about on the stream? Godzilla said, add different enemies every level, maybe. He said, possibly new mechanics used every level, or just make it weird. I would say you can do a lot with the same enemies. So I would argue, even if you only had a couple different types of enemies that you were working with, Volt, really arrangement can be like a big thing. Like just where you place the enemies relative to like platforms and other collectibles and stuff like that can really make a huge difference. Like notice how there are only enemies in this portion of the level. So you have like all this part of the level where you don't have to worry about enemies, but then you come to this area that's mandatory because you have to collect all these collectibles, so you have to face the enemies. But it's still segregated. And I added this little like tutorial thing that like teaches you about enemies and warns you about them. as a way to like pace the player into having to like face the enemies. And there's still plenty of like platforming challenge and like hazards before you even get to the enemies, but it allows you to like ease the player into the world without immediately shoving like problems down their throat. I mean, you kind of are, but you're going easy on them to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that I think is really important because it allows for your game to kind of flow naturally rather than expecting the player to like immediately have all their shit together, if that makes sense. I guess that's not as much how to spice up your game as it is just how to make it feel natural, or maybe like to ease your player into the world. I don't know how to describe it. It helps make the game flow better for the player, I guess. Let's see. Your boy Ouija said, "Hey, I'm back. Yo, welcome back, Ouija. It's good to see you, my guy." I'm going to save what I have so far for this particular level, because this is work stuff, and I'm actually on a long weekend. Bow, 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 bow. The reason why it's a long weekend is because I get Memorial Day off, so I'm going to be off Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So it's going to be nice to relax. Volt said, "Thanks, man. That helped a good bit. I'm glad you're vibing." Also, I finally looked into Godot, the game engine thing that Godzilla's using. So, I actually learned about Godot accidentally. I was looking up MIT App Inventor, which is like a visual programming language that allows you to create your own apps. And while I was looking that up, I learned that there was another MIT thing that was out there for making games. And that's what Godot is. It's a thing for making games that also has like visual programming stuff. Am I going to use Godot? Nah, probably not. I do think it's cool, but I've noticed that my work computer, I feel like it's constantly like almost full. Like I'm always deleting stuff from it because it always seems to like fill up really fast. So I think if I had Godot on it, I wouldn't have enough space for it for real. Which is why I probably wouldn't use Godot. I am thinking about doing stuff with trying to remember what I was gonna say. I'm thinking about doing stuff with MIT App Inventor. I do think that's cool. Let's see. Then Volt said Godot, and then he said Godot. Oh, so it is like the Wonder Woman actress. It's like the same kind of thing. Because her name is spelt that way as well. Ouija said, "Okay, I'll pop back in at 9:40 estimated." He said, "I gotta go." Okay, I'll catch you later, Ouija. Thank you for tuning in. It's always good to see you on the streams. I hope to see you on the next one. I'll probably still be streaming around like 9:40 or so, but that'll also probably be around the time where the stream will end, if anything. But I learned a really interesting fun fact, and you guys can Google this if you want to learn more about it. But apparently, in 1998 and even in like the early 2000s, over 50% of people in Iceland believe that like elves are a thing, and that if you messed with rocks that elves lived in, it would upset the elves, and the elves would then bring misfortune to you. But if you help protect the rocks, the elves might help protect you later on. And there are a whole bunch of like myths and stories about it. But it's one of those modern mythology things where people still treat it like a real thing, and it still has like impact. Volt said, "That's what LSD does to you." Then Godzilla said, "Yule cats are terrifying." So it's less a drug thing and more like a psychology thing. So I decided this afternoon to put a lot of time into like learning more about stuff like this. And I think the reason why the elf thing is such a big thing in Iceland is because in the 1970s, there was a story about a guy driving a bulldozer who got in an accident. And the guy said that the reason why he got in an accident is because he tried to destroy a rock with the bulldozer, and an elf like attacked the bulldozer and caused it to malfunction, and that's why he got in the accident. And it became a big news thing in the 70s. So then I think that spread through Iceland, And there's this fallacy called like the illusion of truth or illusory truth. And the idea behind this fallacy is that if you hear something over and over again, like repeated, you start to believe that it's like a real thing. So I think all these repeated news things, like news coverage of it, made people start thinking like, oh, like I guess it's like real. But there's like more to it than just that. Godzilla said Yule cats are giant cats that eat children. I'm not familiar with Yule cats. Could you tell me more about them? Like, is it something that like you created? Is it like an urban legend thing? Are they like cryptids? Is it like a SCP thing? Jack Slash said, did you see my drawing? I have not yet, Jack Slash. I need to check the amino. I need to like get on like Heart of Heroes stuff. I've been all over the place with like different projects, and a lot of stuff has been going on recently. But don't worry, I'm still totally interested in stuff like Heart of Heroes, and I do want to see your drawings. I just haven't really gotten to it yet. Godzilla said Yule cats are mythological creatures from Iceland, like Krampus. Interesting. And then he said it appears on Christmas. Oh, okay, I'm learning. Oh, speaking of the Iceland thing. So another fallacy that I think adds to the whole Iceland's belief in elves thing, based off of that 1970s news thing, is a fallacy called appeal to authority. The idea is that if you hear something from a source of authority, you can argue that it's true simply because it came from someone who has authority, which is wrong. But a lot of people will like fall into that thinking. So if you consider the news as like a reliable like authority or whatever for receiving information, you have the appeal to authority fallacy. And if you hear them repeat the like elf story over and over again, you have like the illusory control fallacy. And those two are like working off of each other to make it seem more credible, even though it isn't. Jack Slash said, I understand, and if you have kids, protect them. Stuff is happening. True, if you do have kids, make sure they're safe. I don't have any kids, though. Godzilla said, if you're wearing old clothes, the Yule Cat eats you. So the Yule Cat wants to make sure you're wearing your fresh threads for Christmas. That's what it sounds like. I'm going to make a little elf guy, by the way. That's what I was doing. I kind of lost my train of thought. Godzilla said, American parents, alright kids, if you're good this year, you'll get presents from jolly old elf on Christmas. Godzilla said, German parents, okay Kinder, if you're good this year, you won't get eaten by an evil goat man on Christmas. Walt said, I think that mermaids could be real, but not in the way that we think about them. Interesting. Do you see them as being like more fish-like than person-like? Godzilla said, Icelandic parents, listen very closely, children. If you don't get new clothes this Christmas, you'll be eaten by a giant cat. And then Jack Slash said, yes. So sure. So, there's this thing called supernatural priming. And supernatural priming is where you tell someone that there's some invisible agent, like Santa Claus, or like the Easter Bunny, or like the Tooth Fairy, or something. And then you say that, like, if you do X, the invisible agent will do Y. So you say something like, if you're good, Santa will like get you a gift. Or if you put your tooth under your pillow, the Tooth Fairy will like put money or whatever. And supernatural priming is something that kind of everybody goes through as like a kid if your parents did anything like the Easter Bunny or Santa with you. There was an experiment done where they had this invisible agent that they called Princess Alice, and they told these kids, yo, you're going to have to pick between two boxes in this room. We're going to leave you alone. There's this invisible agent called Princess Alice, and she'll show you a sign if you pick the wrong box. So the researchers leave, and when the kid picks a box, they the researchers from another room like cut the lights off, or they make like a painting like fall down or something like that. Something to make the kid think that Princess Alice is like messing with them. and then some kids picked another box and some kids didn't. But specifically the kids who were told about the Princess Alice thing did. But it really depended on like their age. It was a thing where kids that were like 7 and older were like, Princess Alice gave me a warning by like making the lights turn off, or by like dropping the painting, and I knew that I picked the wrong box. But like kids younger than 7 didn't put it together. So like the painting would fall or the lights would cut off or whatever, and they were like, I don't know, like something happened. And the research paper more or less was like, after a certain age, you can identify like signs from invisible agents. Like if someone tells you, like, you do X and it equals Y, you have the ability to then attribute them to each other. I think that's interesting, but it also just sounds wrong. Like, does that mean kids don't understand Santa? Because it seems like kids understand Santa, and it's like the same logic. Like, kids younger than 7 understand what Santa is, and it's like the same kind of thing. So I think that's interesting. Okay, so where are we at? Volt said, oh, I already read that. Godzilla said the Yule Cat, aka the Fashion Police, or like the Yule Cat. True, the Yule Cat is another example of supernatural priming. That's true. Volt said, yeah, honestly, I think they look really human-like with fish-like skin. Oh, that's interesting. Volt's like, because to me it sounds like your vision of like a mermaid is more human than it is fish. So it's like a human with fish elements, less than like a straight like down the center split. Jack Slash said, you know how to fight? Like, what kind of fight? What kind of fight are we talking? Like, are you asking if I know how to like sword fight? To like box? Like martial arts? Also, I'm the kind of guy who prefers not to fight. Like, I'm more likely to let you like hit me or whatever if I can't get away, and then just be like, yeah, that person like hit me and I didn't do anything to them. And then it's like, oh, well, they'll probably get in trouble and you'll probably just be fine after the fact. Like, it's more that kind of thing. Let's see. Volt said, bro, that's fucked up. He said those kids were probably scared out of their mind. With like the Princess Alice thing, if you think that's weird, there's another experiment that I thought was even more interesting. There was one where they put the kids in a room and they go, here's my friend Hikaru. Only I can see him. And then they ask the kid questions about Hikaru. And kids who had imaginary friends could perceive Hikaru as if he was like a real person. Like, they said that he could like think and perceive and like feel emotions and shit like that. But kids who didn't have imaginary friends were like, no, like, he's not like really like a real thing. And the study more or less said that like kids who have imaginary friends, their agency system is different from other kids. So the way that you can look at like a real person and go, I recognize that they're another person and they're like a thinking, feeling human being, kids with imaginary friends can do that for imaginary people. And not only can they do that for imaginary people, they can do it for imaginary people that they didn't make up. You can be like, I have an imaginary person. And you're like, do they have agency? And the kids are like, yeah, they like think and feel and they have their own ideas and shit like that. And I was like that's kind of interesting. Like, that seems really different. That's something I would have like never thought about before. Bob Maker said, search DRS tail demo. And he said, sorry, my language is Italian. No problem, Bob Maker. I can if you hit up that super chat and donate in the super chat. I don't know how to say that in Italian. Godzilla said, the Yule Cat is awesome. Jack Slash said, MMA? No, I am not familiar with MMA. Godzilla said, I would love a big-ass cat to come to my house and eat me if I didn't have new clothes. That's you. Some people like to eat the pussy. Someone likes it when the pussy eats them. It's a circle of life. Let's see. Jack Slash said, hell nah, I'm giving a bunch of weapons. He said, I'm giving you a bunch of weapons. Oh, interesting. You're like creating a character based around it? That seems cool. Let's see. Volt said, "Well, imagine if like early primates had begun to develop things that allowed them to adapt to the ocean better." When you said early primates, at first I was thinking a different kind of thing. I thought you were going to connect it to the invisible agent stuff. Because a lot of people think the reason why humans will attribute things that have nothing to do with invisible agents to invisible agents is due to evolution. So, like, our early, like, primitive ancestors would hear rustling in a bush, and instead of assuming that it's the wind, they'd be like, yo, is that a predator in that bush? I need to run away. And the humans who, like, did that the most survived more often than not, because even when they were wrong, they still were, like, leaving, which lowered their risk of actually getting attacked by a predator. So a lot of researchers think because of behavior like that, we now are more often to attribute things that happen in our surroundings to like beings that aren't actually there, but we treat them like they're real. But in regards to like early man adapting to like living in the ocean better, I mean, it's interesting. I'm trying to like mentally piece together what would cause you to have like an amphibious person, like an amphibious human. Because if humans evolved from like Neanderthals that evolved from like primates or whatever, like at what stage would you have amphibious people? I guess would be my question. You know what I mean? Like when would it like splinter off like that? Also, I haven't made an elf yet. I've been talking a lot. Vol said, not exactly early man. He said, I'm thinking more like great ape. So you're thinking like apes that became like amphibious apes? Like one thing that I would be thinking about is like, when are apes like by water? I guess would be like my question. Also, I'm about to try and make my like how I would imagine an Icelandish elf. So that's my current goal. Like, do we know of any apes that like even like regularly swim? That something like that could like have evolved from? So I have a little platforming puppet. I'm gonna try and find a Viking that I can grab pieces from. Here's a little Viking shield. I could probably do something with that. Okay, so this guy has made like a Viking warrior. So I'm gonna load in this Viking. And I'm gonna grab elements from him and resize them to work appropriately. Volt said, not sure. He said, no apes nowadays do, but some species must have at some point. I mean, we do. Yeah, but to the extent to, like, adapt into an amphibious, like, version, you would think it would be like a primate on an island where, like, you have to spend a good bit of time in water, like, in order to survive. Like, where maybe, like, you have to fish to survive or something? I don't know. Like, I'm still mentally trying to figure out. I mean, I don't know how I would do it any other way but mentally. It felt weird to specify mentally. I'm still trying to think about how that would work. More, I guess, like, why that would end up happening versus something else. Putting, like, helmets and headgear on these puppets always makes the puppets look, like, really small. Also, I don't really like that for a Viking helmet. I'm so used to the Viking helmets with horns, which I've heard are not entirely accurate to Viking helmets. This is probably more accurate, but it's just not what I see in my head. Excuse me. So I kind of don't. I want to use like a stereotypical Viking helmet. Volt said, that's what I thought. He said, something on an island seems the most plausible. Jack Slash said, what are some new projects that you're working on? Okay, so right now what I'm working on when it comes to projects, for work, I'm now like a team lead on like a new team, and I'm working on a 2D platforming educational game. For like personal projects, I technically have like Heart of Heroes, but I haven't really been working on it recently. I've been doing a lot of rap stuff. I started writing like a new rap today. I'm not sure if I'll actually like record this rap. This is something that I just started messing with a little bit. Um, I'm working on These Superheroes Do Not Exist, which is like a really big project that John Mason is now the artist for. Congratulations to John Mason. I still need to check out his latest Facebook message, and I need to do a video talking more about that because I want to help support the crowdfunding campaign for that. More stuff. Infinite Voyage is a book that I came out with. I did volume 1 of Infinite Voyage, and it's like my take on like a pirate kind of story. And I was thinking about doing like a volume 2, and I started on a volume 2, and I just haven't done anything else with it. I wrote like a RoboCop inspired story, and I was going to do a collection of those. But I'm very quickly like finding new things that I'm interested in, and then just as soon as I find something, finding something else, and I like jump into that. Like recently, I've been watching like a ton of RoboCop stuff. I've been trying to get more into RoboCop. But then I learned about like MIT App Inventor and the Dream Team, Kaylee and Kratos, who also own Dreams, like to play around with Dreams. They're also interested in MIT App Inventor, and Kratos actually has experience with it. So we're thinking about making like apps now, and I'm like, oh, I might make an app. I might do like app stuff. I don't know, like I just feel like I'm dipping my toes in a whole bunch of stuff. And I technically have like a bunch of projects going on, but none of them are like strict deadline based things. So even though I have a lot on my plate, I can kind of balance them out however I want. Like this afternoon, I got into like this research rabbit hole about like psychology and how people react to like invisible agents and stuff. And that's been what's on my mind, and I've been writing stuff about that. You know, it just varies. I'm constantly just like jumping on new stuff. Godzilla said, Julak Kotorin is gonna eat us if we don't get new clothes. Oh no. And then Godzilla said, why not Heart of Heroes? He said, Heart of Heroes is doing super well. I am a fan of Heart of Heroes. I mean, I didn't say that I wasn't gonna do Heart of Heroes. It's just I haven't touched Heart of Heroes in a minute, in large part because of what I was saying before. There's just all these like other things that have just been on my mind. See, I like the more traditional Viking helmet. Not traditional, sorry, because I've heard this is inaccurate, so it feels weird to call it the traditional one. I like this like fake Viking helmet thing that everybody like considers to be a real Viking helmet, but it isn't. Because it's just what I associate with Vikings. Jack Slash said, nice. Volt said, I also have been lagging on Heart of Heroes because of game development. Yeah, like, it's just there's so many other, like, projects that I think everybody's working on. There just hasn't been a lot of progress recently. But the volume as it currently stands is still the largest Heart of Heroes volume to date. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's definitely like a lot of love behind the project. I really do need to review and like submit it for publishing and everything. Like it's about time. And it's a good time to do it during a lull because then you're not like interrupting people actively writing on it. So I mean that's something that I need to do that I just haven't done. But in large part it's just other stuff. Just other stuff's been coming up. The fuck is this? A laser scope on an axe? Here we go. I'll shrink this axe down to his size. And put the axe in the fuckboy's hands. It's still too big. Once he Godzilla said, Nick, what if I make a deadline for Heart of Heroes for you? I would have no reason to respect an arbitrary deadline. You know what I mean? Like, if it... Because a lot of times when you get deadlines, there's normally, like, a reason why there's, like, a deadline. Like, it, like, matters. You know what I mean? But if someone just was like, okay, just so that you'll do it faster, what if you do it by this time? I just probably wouldn't care. You know what I mean? I'd probably just still just approach it whenever. Godzilla said, oh, okay. Let's see. Also, there's nothing wrong with like Heart of Heroes being like a more relaxed thing anyways. Because it is just something that we do for fun. You know what I mean? By the way, I am excited for more, whatchamafucket. I'm trying to remember. I'm excited for more AI Dungeon 2. AI Dungeon 2. Beth has been wanting to do it more, which is nice, because I remember when I initially got into AI Dungeon 2, it was really hard to, like, get Beth to see it as something that was, like, a legitimately fun thing. Godzilla said stories, and then he said AI Dungeon 2. Yeah. I've been enjoying hearing about, like, Godzilla's AI Dungeon 2 campaign. It's been making me think about AI Dungeon 2 more, and even, like, play with it more, like, in my free time. I used to play with AI Dungeon 2 all the time, and then I just stopped thinking about it for a while. And then Godzilla started, like, sharing his stuff. I was like, oh, that's cool. So then I started doing it more. But whenever I check the multiplayer's down, like, Beth will ask me, like, do you want to do, like, AI Dungeon 2 tonight or whatever? And I'm down, but I just can't. It's not available. See, I'm going to not put it in his back, because I think if it's in his back, it'll probably mess things up. So it'll just float slightly off of his back. And then I'm going to turn off all its collision labels. Excuse me. So that the shield doesn't collide with anything. Volt said, what about AI Dungeon 2? Oh, I got you, Volt. So, the reason why AI Dungeon 2 came up was I was saying that I want to do more AI Dungeon 2. Like, I am starting to get to the point where it's like I kind of miss it a little bit. Because every time I've tried to hit it up, it's just been down. Like, it's just not been available for, like, multiplayer. And Beth is now interested in AI Dungeon 2, like, more than she was initially. So she wants to do it more together, which I think is awesome. So this is the little bit that I have done so far. I'll probably steal that guy's boots as well. I'm also gonna probably make him smaller. Because some of the Iceland elves or whatever are supposed to be quite the tiny. Oh, great. It's one of those things. So, like, there's a leg stuck inside of this boot. Yeah, it's like they knitted a thing around another thing. I kind of don't want that. I don't want that extra boot thing. Is there anything else that I want off of this Viking? I kind of like the fur. Let me swag that off you real quick. I'm not sure how well I can incorporate the fur. Damn, I mean, that looks kind of alright. That's too far. You kind of would want it inside the body, practically. Jack Slash said, can we do a post-apocalyptic story of Heart of Heroes in the near future? I think the only issue with doing a post-apocalyptic story would be, like, what if we did a post-apocalyptic story of Heart of Heroes that took place on an island? Like, there's one particular island that's in a post-apocalyptic circumstance that's isolated from, like, the rest of the world. Because then we could kind of do whatever we wanted within that post-apocalyptic setting without making all of Heart of Heroes post-apocalyptic. And, like, heroes could come in to try to help the island. Villains could come in to try and take advantage of the situation. You know, we could incorporate pre-existing characters into the narrative without making it where, like, the whole Heart of Heroes world is in a post-apocalypse. What are you guys' thoughts on that? I'm trying to see if I want to give him this big-ass fur. I also am trying to see if I want the fur to be smaller. Because this is supposed to be like a little dude. The big fur, though, I think was appropriate. Godzilla said, what would the kaiju do, would be my question. I mean, a kaiju could be a part of why the island's in such disarray. You've already written a story, Godzilla, about, like, a kaiju fucking up an island. But for that one, it was like the island was, like, completely decimated, and this is, like... This situation's, like, similar to the island being completely decimated, but it's different because it's, like, there are survivors and people trying to pick up the pieces afterwards. You know what I mean? So a kaiju could potentially be, like, the cause, in a way. Godzilla said Aethelak would probably kill himself for losing and failing his duty to protect the small ones. Really? I mean, he's already failed to protect the small ones before, and it wasn't, like, as drastic. He wasn't like, I gotta die now, you know? The fur is too big. I don't like how big the fur is. Let's see. Gazul said, oh, he said if it was like the whole world. Well, like I said before, I wouldn't really want it to be the whole world. I think that would mess up too much. If it was like an island, I think we could do something cool with that. Jack Slash said, I like it. Derpy Assassin 19 said, hello. Yo, Derpy Assassin, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy and any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? Jack Slash said, the Dark Emperor Galvin in the post-apocalyptic island. Dun, 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 dun. That seemed like the title of like an episode. Let's see. Womp, womp, womp. How do I feel about the little fur collar? I feel like it only partially covers his shield, which seems a little awkward. I wish it covered like that top corner of it. Then I think it would look a little bit nicer. How does that look on the front, though? I guess that looks okay. Let's check it out. Let's see, where we at, though? Godzilla said, I was thinking of making a story of a battle in God's Tears, the home of the kaiju. And then he said, this is like a Viking. So, my idea is to try and make like a little Icelandish elf, because they're described in that like news article that I read as being like little Norse people. Like they're supposed to be more like the like old school people who were originally in Iceland kind of thing. But they're supposed to be like tiny and they live in rocks. So I'm like, I could probably make like a little tiny like Viking character. I'm pretty much taking elements from this bigger Viking that somebody already made. I'm just resizing them to put them on the small guy. The only thing that's currently on this dude that wasn't on that big dude is the helmet. I didn't like the big dude's helmet. I prefer this one. I've heard that the horns on the helmet thing was like not as synonymous with Vikings as what people say, but I still associate it with Vikings, at least in my mind. Volt said, man, I really want some pizza right now. I noticed that RoboCop in his Alpha Commando animated series keeps bringing up pizza for some reason. RoboCop eats baby food. I don't know why he cares about pizza. But it's been a minute since I've had a pizza. I'm trying to remember the last time I had pizza. I'm not sure now. Derpy Assassin 19 said, I'm one of the people from Mr. Terry. I'm aware of Derpy Assassin 19. I remember. Godzilla said, the Yule Trolls. He said, those are so mischievous. Let me jump back. I didn't color his skin at all. Like, I just remembered that when it comes to clothing, you don't have to actually put clothing elements on characters. Which I will demonstrate now. Dun 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 dun. Get the colors. Dun 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 dun. Go to coat mode. Dun 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 dun. To the skin tone. Dun 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 dun. There we go. Deselect him. Back out a little bit. Get that throat. Volt said, why is everything Yule? And then Godzilla said, I don't know. He said there's a Yule goat that Santa rides. I mean, is Yule like a holiday-based word? I feel like I've heard it used in holiday context a good bit. I'm not sure if that means anything, though. Let's see. I'm gonna select his hand. Godzilla said, I don't know, probably. Someone could just Google the word Yule, and we would just know what Yule meant. Okay, so I've added like a few areas where his body is skin tone. Oh, I don't need to focus in that hard. Oh, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I do need to focus in that hard. Okay, so let's give him like a brown top with like darker brown sleeves or whatever. Let's go to coat mode. There we go. So Bolt said it's like the word dire. They just call it a dire troll or a dire goat instead, and it would be like more recognizable. So do they literally mean the same thing? Like, is dire synonymous with Yule? Let's see, Derpy Assassin 19 said, history forever, and AI Dungeon is good too. Hey, I'm glad that you're vibing, Derpy Assassin 19. Let's see, Volt said, imagine though, run, the dire goats are here. The dire goats. It makes it sound silly to me. I think I accidentally painted his shield brown, which I honestly don't like that. I would love to restore the shield to its original colors and not have it be this doo-doo brown. How far back would I have to go just to get the shield like back to normal? There we go. Normal fucking shield. Normal fucking shield. Okay. So now let me color this. Let's see, Volt said, I don't know. But that's what comes to mind when I hear it. Godzilla said, dire cats, dire kaiju, and then Godzilla said, shit. He was like, if dire wolves are like big wolves, are dire kaiju just big kaiju? Vol said his shield should be red with the blood of the enemies who threaten the rocks. That sounds accurate. I see you're getting into the spirit, Volt. It will be, but it'll be up to the player to coat it in that blood. Let's see, Derpy Assassin 19 said dire T-Rex. Interesting. We got some dire dinosaurs here. Jack Slash said, is it okay if I link my character's new form here? That'd be totally fine. YouTube may or may not allow you to do that. Like, I have nothing against it, but YouTube sometimes doesn't like it when people post links. So if it doesn't appear, it's because YouTube said no. I'm fine with it though. Let's see. For his pants, let's go more into like a gray. Let's see. Where are we at? Godzilla said, dire kaiju. He said, you can put it in the amino, as sadly links don't work in the chat. Volt said, dire giant. Godzilla said, dire dragons. Volt said, links never work, sadly. I'm sorry to hear that. Godzilla said, dire kaiju. Yule kaiju. Dire Yule kaiju. And let's see, Derpy Assassin 19 said, dire Godzilla. For the shoes, maybe for the fresh fit. What if I gave him like metal shoes? I'm not sure if Vikings had stuff like that. Like metal armor, like boots or whatever. But is that gonna stop me from giving him some? And nope. Don't fuck with my rocks. Let's see. Volt said, dire King Kong actually sounds badass, not gonna lie. Dire Yule Kaiju. King Kong. Dun, 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 dun. Kaiju Kong. King Kaiju Kong. I don't know. I like how he's turning out so far. I wish there were more things I could do to make him look like an elf. Like, not just like a Viking, but like an elf. But I don't want to take away from it. Like, I feel like this is good. This is not bad. Volt said they would have had fur boots, as metal was used more as armor for major organs and used sparingly. Derpy Assassin 19 said Vikings wore a lot of different things, but not horns. I mentioned that earlier. I mentioned earlier that like Vikings wearing horns is like a historically inaccurate thing. The reason why I put horns on his helmet is because I'm like, I just think that looks cooler. Like, even though I know it's wrong, that's still just how I imagine it. The original helmet that I had on him didn't have horns. And I was like, nah, I don't like how it looks. I want it to like immediately be recognizable. Also, when it comes to the boots, I think you're right. I think the boots would have been fur. They wouldn't have been metal. I do kind of like that it looks different though. Like, I kind of am digging the aesthetic. Also, these little elves supposedly lived in rocks. And if you lived in rocks, I imagine the ground is always really hard and shit. And maybe I don't know, my brain was trying to like rationalize it. Like, I don't know, maybe you need more foot protection because you're always walking on rocks because you live in rocks. Like, I don't know. I feel like you could try and argue something for the elves because they are tiny. Volt said, God, I hate the horns misconception. And Volt said, is it helping the zeitgeist? Well, at the very least, while I'm making the character, I'm acknowledging that the horns are wrong. Like, I totally agree. Horns are wrong, not historically accurate. Boots are wrong too, not historically accurate. Like, I get that. It's more a cool factor thing now. At least for those boots especially, because the boots were just some shit that I made up. I was like, it would be cool if his boots were metal. And it's like, they probably wouldn't have been metal though. I like how he turns out. How he turned out. I wonder, is there anything we can do about his walk that would make it more of a Viking walk? Does anyone know how Vikings walked? Like, what we would change about his walking to make it be more realistic? Volt said he's not even a Viking now. He's just a dragonborn from Skyrim. Oh my goodness. He said he's got the armor for it. Interesting. I've still never played Skyrim, but now that you mention it, that helmet does look familiar, though. Let's see, Derpy Assassin 19 said, like a person. He's like, you don't have to change anything. He's like, Vikings just walk like people. Understandable. I was wondering if there was anything that we could modulate about it. Because you can do stuff in dreams like decrease or add sass, or like add or remove sway in the walk, or like make them walk with like more lumber or something, you know. I was wondering if you guys wanted me to turn up like the lumber slider or something, or like turn up like the arm vigor. Maybe Vikings move their arms more or something. I don't know. Godzilla said Vikings aren't an ethnic race. He said being a Viking is like a job, like raiding. He said I wouldn't call them like Nordic people or Norse. Then Volt said Vikings walk the way Vikings walk, like normal. I get you. He said Viking is the same as calling someone like a Spartan. I understand where you're coming from. It's like a role. It's not necessarily. It isn't. There's still a culture. Like, I don't know. My brain was like, I get what you're saying, but there's still like levels to it. I am gonna turn up the. I'm gonna turn up the arm vigor, so he's gonna move his arms a lot. I'm gonna have him walk with a very. Do I want a straight back? I'm not sure if I want a straight back. I'll give him like a 35% straight back. Less sway in his walk, but more lumber. Let's see, Volt said it is synonymous with Roman people, but it isn't their race, like the Spartans. Understandable. Godzilla said there are fishermen and other stuff. W Assassin 19 said Vikings meant roughly raider. It kind of reminds me of like a barbarian kind of thing. Godzilla said, but that's the culture of the Norse people. And then Jack Slash said, never mind, lol, wow. Oh, did you try to like post the link and it didn't work? Volt and then we're talking about how the live chat doesn't like links. Now he moves his arms a lot. The arms keep moving. Maybe a little less arm vigor, because with that axe it looks like he's repeatedly striking himself in the face. But I'm trying to make him look tough. Then Jack Slash said yes. Don't worry, like Godzilla mentioned before, you can always post in the amino. I just need to check it. Let's see. arm vigor is really high. So let's turn it down a little bit. What's this wind thing? Define how procedural the breathing animation is. How much he anticipates a turn. Sway. I turned the sway down. That seems a little bit better. I'm curious if the axe needs to be bigger so that he isn't like hitting himself in the face with it repeatedly. Because that's kind of bothering me. I don't really like how that looks when he hits himself in the face with the axe. Okay. Is he still doing it? I think he's still doing it. I think it has to do with like how his arms are positioned and how his walk cycle is. If I just set his neutral arm out a little bit further, Godzilla said they revamped the multiplayer system in AI Dungeon 2. They mentioned that that's why it's been down for the last couple of days, is because they're revamping it. What changes did they actually make, though? That's my question. Like, what's in this new revamp? Let's see. Derpy Assassin 19 said Vikings also didn't only use axes. He said, I hate that misconception. Now, that's a misconception that I don't think I've actually ever heard anyone say. I don't think I've ever heard someone go like, Vikings only use axes. I'm actually used to seeing Vikings with swords and stuff. Even this Viking that somebody else made has a sword. So that one, it seems new to me. If anything, the culture that I always hear associated with axes, specifically like tomahawks, is like Native American culture. I hear people talk about that a lot, like, and associate them with axes. But Vikings, I'm not familiar with that. Like the idea of Vikings specifically being like axes, axes, axes. Also, I'm trying to make his arm that has the axe like stick out a little bit more. Maybe I just need to like tilt the axe's position. Like tilt it more outwardly, like off of his body. Let's see. So where we at though? Volt said, my next game will be set in the 20 with elements of cosmic horror, but the main story will hinge on a man who fell in love with a woman and is chasing her through Europe. So it's going to be like a period piece in the 1920s. That seems cool. Yo, Call of Duty, welcome to the streamers. Good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy and any discussion topics you like to talk about on this stream? Let's see. Volt said, I want the romance to be driving the point of the story. Nice. I think that'll be like an interesting like setup, especially since I don't think Jerry has any romantic element stuff in it. I might be wrong. It'll be like a different feel from what you already got going on. Let's see, Godzilla said, Nick, why are you Dragon Boy? Everybody's like, it looks like Skyrim. Skyrim used the horns, and now everybody associates it with Skyrim. Bethesda. Let's see, how am I gonna get this to work? Because he keeps hitting himself in the face. He keeps hitting himself in the face with the axe. But the farther I put it to the side, he still walks the same way. Like, it still fucks up his walk cycle. So his axe is always in his head. So maybe the axe should be smaller. Go in and make it a tinier axe. So he's not hitting himself in the face with it. axe seems so small. It almost does seem like a tomahawk kind of thing. I can't tell if he's hitting himself in the face with that one. I think he is. It's so small now. I mean, he is an elf. Maybe that adds to his elf charm that the axe is tiny. It does look like a tomahawk though now. Let's see. Call of Duty said, "Hey bud, how's your day been? Fantastic as always, thank you for asking. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Any discussion topics you want to talk about on the stream?" Also, Nestor, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? Let's see. Godzilla said, "Do you need to be able to consume dragon souls?" Derpy Assassin 19 said, "People always put Vikings with the two-sided bladed axes, which annoys me. Why is that?" Let's see. Godzilla said, "Because you're clearly not the hero of Kvatch or a Viking." Volt said, "People associate the axe with the Vikings because it was a common emblem of sorts for them. I would argue, though, that hammers are more synonymous with them." Are you talking about due to like Mjolnir and like Thor? Let's see. Derby Assassin 19 said, "At least you didn't give him the double-sided axe." Thank you. Let's see. Volt said, "That is a big axe for an elf. Now he has a tiny axe, which maybe will help sell that he's supposed to be like an Icelandish elf." Let's see. Nestor180 said hi. Yo, Nestor, good to see you. Derpy Assassin 19 said, "Axes, swords, daggers, and hammers were all common weapons." Volt said, "And I also hate that people can't pronounce Yggdrasil." Did I do it? I immediately was like, this is the test. Is it Yggdrasil or Yggdrasil? Because now you got me second guessing. Now I don't know if I'm saying it right. I mean, he's starting to look better, I'd say. Asian said, sumo digital. I feel like that's not what you meant to say. But yo, Asian, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Any discussion topics you like to talk about on the stream? Godzilla said, "I hate that people pronounce Jormungandr with the J, even though the J is silent." I didn't think the J was silent. I thought the J was pronounced like a Y. Like instead of saying Jor, you say Yor. That's what I always thought it was. Volt said, he said no actually, due to the fact that they use hammers and nails for building their boats. Mind you, they were the first people who used hammers and nails. What? Well, that didn't sound right. Is that real? Like, is that true? They're the first people to use hammers. Because hammers and nails sounds like a caveman thing. With like sharpened rocks, and then you hit a rock into another rock to like hammer the nail into like wood. Like, was that not a thing? Have I been like spoiled on the Flintstones? That makes me think that we did shit that we didn't do. We didn't have cavemen like bolting stuff together by like smashing a sharp rock with a blunt rock into like wood or some shit. That's not real. Let's see. Volt said, "And yes, you pronounced it very well actually. Hey, ba-dum-bum-bum." Volt said, "It's pronounced like a Y." That's what I thought. Godzilla said, "Oh yeah, it's pronounced with a Y." Yeah. Godzilla said, "Even though the J is pronounced like a Y." Then Volt said, "I'm pretty damn sure before them was wooden pegs." People use wooden pegs before they used rocks as nails? That's interesting. I suppose that's easier. Maybe. I don't know. I've never tried to do either one. I'm learning. It'd be cool if I could give him like a red beard or something. I'm not sure how well I could pull the beard off this guy's face. Also, I think the beard looks kind of creepy. Maybe the beard doesn't look creepy. This guy's face looks creepy. Maybe the beard does look creepy. Beard is so big. Is the beard too big or not big enough? I'm making it bigger. I mean, it's a beard. It's definitely a beard. My nigga has no eyes. That's the more concerning part. As soon as I put the beard on him not having eyes felt really weird. Boom, 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 boom. Guys, listen, I hate when people can't pronounce. You got me. Did you just say Nidhogg? Is that Nidhogg? He said, shake my head. Volt said, and hammers were probably used before them, but they were very precise the way they made their hammers. Derby Assassin 19 said, I also hate that people act like all Vikings were the same. There were many different groups of Vikings, not just one super culture. I feel like that's true for like most cultures, that there are like a lot of subcultures. Volt said, yes, the beard sells it. He said, I hate that people don't know that going berserk was something that came from the Vikings. What? Do people not know that? That actually sounds like a more like common knowledge thing. At least that's what I thought. Until you were like, but it's not though. Oh, also, make this beard not collide with anything. If the beard had collision, that'd be it. Straight up game over. Okay. So now he's got this big old beard. Bam, 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 bam. And I'm gonna try and make it a red beard. Volt said actually most people really don't know that. He said, nor do they know the reason why. When I was younger, I read like a book that was talking about how one of the like inspirations for the concept of werewolves had to do with like the whole berserker thing. And that's how I initially learned about berserker stuff. So now he's got a red beard. It's very red. It's like cartoonishly red. Let's give him eyes of like some kind. Derby Assassin 19 said berserker meant bare chest. Then Godzilla said, huh? I imagine he's saying huh about the werewolf thing. I recommend looking it up. It's been a minute since I've like seen that werewolf thing I was talking about. Bolt said they went berserk by getting drunk before battle, said they couldn't feel pain. And that tome sums up a lot of Viking culture. Godzilla said, I love creatures like werewolves that are like shapeshifters. They are humans during the day, and they are terrifying creatures at night. So, you guys probably aren't going to like this, but I'm going to give my boys some anime eyes. Just FYI. That's what I'm looking for right now. Let's see. Volt said, and they often would fight naked, which is crazy. That's something that I also heard that like Greeks and shit would do. It's weird. It's weird. Unnecessary to fight naked. Let's see. Volt said, no. Godzilla said, no, why? Let's see. He said, Volt's like, why anime eyes? Godzilla said, don't ruin them. He said, Dragonborn don't have anime eyes. Yeah, lizard eyes. He said Volt said berserk equals bare chest equals naked. Derpy Assassin said, you want to see terrifying stories? Go to Iceland. Fair. Let's see. Where are we at, though? Godzilla said, because he was an Argonian in my playthrough. He said, but like Nords don't have anime eyes either in the game. Volt said, I mean, would you grapple a naked man? He's like, I wouldn't. But if everybody's naked, who cares? If everybody's fighting naked, I don't think people are like, I'm gonna get naked so that my opponent doesn't grapple me. But I'm not gonna grapple anybody who is also naked. It doesn't look right. I think it has to do more with the spacing, though, than anything. I don't know how I feel about it. Let's see, Godzilla said Iceland is where the Yule Cat came from. Volt said not everyone fight naked though. Godzilla said, Nick, we told you. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily bad because they're anime eyes. It's just the presence of eyes almost looks weird. To be like just eyes in general. Because I don't know what would be appropriate eyes for this. You know what I mean? Like in the first place. Volt said they were more of a medieval thing, and most people fighting back then would have some type of armor or clothes on. Well, I gave him like the big shield or whatever in the back. Derby Assassin 19 said Icelandic is the closest language to Old Norse. Godzilla said no eyes would be appropriate. What? What does that mean? No eyes would be appropriate. It's just a blank head with a beard. I was fine with no eyes before we gave him a beard. Now that he has a beard, I think the no eyes looks weird. Like he needs something, I would say. Maybe anime eyes was too far, but eyes seem like a thing. I got an idea. Hungry eyes. Boom. Hungry eyes. Okay. Godzilla said, fine, give him soulless white eyes. And then he said, yes, yes, yes. Volt said, I actually want to get the words, we come from the ground only to return, tattooed on me in Norse runes. Interesting. Godzilla said, soulless white eyes. Derpy Assassin said, give him black eyes. Volt said, oh my god, now he has Batman eyes. I was also thinking it looks like Batman eyes. So I'm actually thinking instead of keeping them white or turning them black necessarily, we go with that red. Like almost like a bloodlust kind of thing. Godzilla said give him a pink eye. Why? My boy been touching his eyes when he shouldn't be. Volt said now he's high as fuck. Nah, man. His berserker rage is activated. Somebody touched the rock. He's supposed to be like an Icelandish elf who's like, you shouldn't mess with my rock. Dun 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 dun. Let's see. Volt said he smoked too much. Godzilla said, why is the Dragonborn on LSD? If LSD made your eyes turn red, I feel like it'd be really like red like this, like glowing red. I feel like it'd be really easy to tell if people were on LSD. Volt said he should carry a big rock on his back. They're said to live in rocks though. My nigga's not a turtle. It's not like his house is like on his back. He's not like a snail. You know what I mean? I almost want him to carry like his axe to his side almost. The way he runs with the axe has like bothered me like this whole time. Like I don't like it. I'm gonna actually like move his arm outward and like rotate his hand. He holds it like more like this. Out to the side and like down. Godzilla said, you live in rocks, Nick. Everything I do makes his run cycle worse somehow. It's like his hand needs to be just tilted the other way. Let's see, Derpy Assassin 19 said, if it's Iceland, he wouldn't just kill, he would trap the person in the rock to be torched for all eternity. Torched, you say? That's interesting. Like the concept of him like torching them, I think, is kind of cool. Makes me wish he had a torch. He's still hitting himself in the face. Wait, no he isn't, is he? See, it's weird because of the fact that, like, the axe is immaterial. Like, it can't collide with anything. So it's like, no matter what I do, it seems like he's hitting himself in the face with the axe. Godzilla said he's shaving his beard. It's like the axe either has to be, like, insanely tiny, or I still don't know how to fix it. Let me rewind, get his arm back to like however it was before. I guess that's how his arm was before. I'm gonna zoom in. I have an idea to solve. Ooh, stop. I have an idea to solve the axe problem. I'm gonna give him like the backstrapped axe or whatever, like to where it's attached to the back of his shield, I guess. But now that looks weird because it's like partially obscured by the fur. I don't think that makes visual sense, like for it to be obscured by the fur like that. I also don't think it necessarily makes sense for it to be horizontal either. I mean, because then he could like reach behind his back and like yaga, I guess. But then it's like, what's holding it to the back of the shield? Like, I don't know. I don't think just putting it in the other hand would work. I could also just not give him a weapon. That's not necessarily what I want to do, though. What if it was sideways like that? Like, instead of it being, like, all the way sideways, just sideways, like, midway on the shield or something. Derpy Assassin 19 said, did you know? The Vikings were the first Europeans in North America. Excuse me. I am indeed aware. Godzilla said, multiplayer is under reconstruction at the moment. It should be back up new and improved in a couple days. Derpy Assassin 19 said, "Give him a torch." So we put the axe on his back because when he was running, the axe kept hitting him in the face. While I think it would be cool for him to have a torch, I feel like we would run into the same problem. He would run, and then the torch would keep hitting him in the face. Like the animation just kind of like ends up leaving it kind of fucked. I don't like that. So that's why I put the axe on his back. Nerd Tanker said, "Hey Jet, yo Nerd Tanker, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy and any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream?" Right now, I'm making this little Icelandish elf. He's supposed to look kind of like a mini Viking. Derby Assassin 19 said, "Tilt his hand." That's what I tried to do. Look at how he runs. Even with his hands tilted, anything in his hand is like he's always like going for that face, like hella hard. So tilting his hand didn't do much, and I was like, well, what if his arms like out here, and his arms out here, and my nigga's he runs, he just whips it, just really hard. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm curious if we set like his arm vigor to like 0, because I wanted to give him like a high arm vigor. But if we set it to 0, I wonder if that would like solve the problem. Nerd Tanker said, "Well, I have one thing I'd like to tell you. Sid Meier's Civilization is free from Epic Games." Nice. Thank you kindly, Nerd Tanker, for the information. I don't really play like computer game stuff. Like if that was like a deal on PS4, like it's just free, I'd be like, there's no reason for me to not get it. Also, did I miss out on when they made Uncharted free for the pandemic? Because I would get Uncharted for free. Hell yeah. My mom supposedly played it, and she's like, it's really good. It's really good. Nerd Tanker said, up until the end of May it's free. Is it free for PS4, or is it just like a PC thing? Because on PC I only play browser games. I don't really download stuff on PC. He can get in his face. What? This is what you get for messing with my rock. Ha! Got him. Oh shit! Dun, 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 dun. Godzilla said, "Is your mom a gamer?" Yeah. So my mom really likes the Earth Defense Force games, where you play as military soldiers and you fight against like giant bugs and spiders and like frogs and shit. Those are mom's like favorite games. But mom and I played Gears of War 1 through 3 together, and we also played a Splinter Cell game together. Mom also really likes Max Payne. She's really into that. And she's played some of Red Dead Redemption, but she's like, Red Dead Redemption 2 is like too long. She also used to play Gun back in the day. That was like a cowboy game for the GameCube. Godzilla says, same with my mom. And then Godzilla said she plays like MMOs. My dad's the MMO guy. He used to be really into EverQuest. That was like his shit. Dad also played a little bit of like City of Heroes. And he also played a little bit of City of Heroes like once it came back as like the new thing. If only he could have a torch. Did Vikings have oil lamps? Or is that too advanced? Like, because I feel like if he had an oil lamp in his hand, he wouldn't hit himself in the face with it. Because it's like down. And it hangs down. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't know. I like how he's turning out. Do 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 do. Okay, let's see what we can do. I want to do more with his walking stuff. I'm gonna turn his sassiness off. I guess swaying is fine. I do want to straighten his back while he like runs. I'm fine with that. So let's see, with no sassiness and a very stiff back, how does he run? His legs feel very cartoony. Derpy Assassin 19 said, I loved Red Dead Redemption 2. I played Red Dead Revolver, and I played the first Red Dead Redemption. I didn't buy Red Dead Redemption 2. My mom has it, and I've never really, like, picked it up. Mom bought Mortal Kombat 11, and I played all of that, and there's now an expansion for it, and I'm like, fuck, I might have to buy it. Because Mom didn't like Mortal Kombat 11, so I don't think I'll go over to her house to play it, because she didn't care for it. So I might have to buy it myself and get the Aftermath expansion. Derpy Assassin 19 said, and do you play Call of Cthulhu? I do not. So I still don't know a lot about, like, cosmic horror and, like, Lovecraftian stuff. A lot of that's very new to me, though a lot of my friends are really into it. Volt has shown a lot of interest in it. Godzilla's brought it up from time to time. My friend Aiden is really into it, but he specifically is, like, not, like, Lovecraft. He's, like, authors who aren't Lovecraft who do Lovecraftian stuff. He's like, that's what I want to see. I think that's interesting. He's like, I want to see, like, more unique, like, cosmic horror, not the mainstream. Godzilla said, I like Cthulhu. I don't know, what do you guys think of, like, how he turned out so far? Does he look cool? I know it's weird that he doesn't have a weapon anymore. He kept hitting himself in the face. I couldn't trust him with weapons. What if I gave him a knife that faced the other way? It wouldn't even matter. He needs a dagger. He needs a dagger. Godzilla said, I like Lovecraft's works, but I don't like the author. Oh, okay. Godzilla said, I like Dagon, mostly. So I don't know anything about Dagon. But there is a character called Dagon who is a cosmic horror-esque character who's like the final boss of, whatchamaffuckit, a Ben 10 Ultimate Alien. He fights Dagon. Someone attached a light to this knife, making the knife more expensive than it has to be. Here we go. Derpy Assassin 19 said, we need to get a game and play a game of Call of Cthulhu. Is it like a web game? Is it like a board game? Let's see. Godzilla said it's Dagon. Oh, okay. I think the reason why I thought it was Dagon is because that Ben 10 Ultimate Alien villain, his name is spelled the same way, and it's Dagon. And he's like a cosmic horror thing. So for a moment I was like, is he named after the thing Godzilla's talking about? Yo, I just thought about it. This looks really big for a dagger, but it'd be interesting if it was an elf that had a full-size dagger. Like, he's like, I just took this dagger off of, like, an actual nigga. So for me, it's like a sword. I think that could potentially be cool or stupid. Let's see how it looks when he walks with it. Oh, fuck me. I didn't put it in his hand fully. That was quite weird. Do 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 do. Okay. He like took this weapon from like an actual like fully sized person. Goodness. It's so fucking big. Godzilla said, an ad for Child Flesh. The snack that smiles back, Child Flesh. Derpy Assassin 19 said, Game of Thrones! That's what that little, like, song thing is that I keep humming. I personally don't like or watch Game of Thrones. There was a similar thing with Attack on Titan. By the way, I might just make the dagger smaller. I don't know. I like that he's not stabbing himself in the face with it anymore, but I don't think it needs to be this big. So Attack on Titan is a show that I like tried to watch and I didn't get into, but it was a similar thing with the theme song where I was like, I can't deny the song's kind of a banger. And I think Game of Thrones is like a similar thing. It's like I don't like it, but I do like the song. Like I can't say that like the song's bad. You know what I mean? The Mandalorian is a show that I like, and I really like the theme. Also, the dagger, it looks like it's in his hand at a weird angle. I kind of want to fix that. Godzilla said, do you think I will get into Attack on Titan? It has like giant monster people who like eat people. So probably. I don't know. It depends on how much you like humanoid monsters. If you're looking for like monstrous kaijus that don't look like people, you may not fuck with it. It all depends. How tiny do I think the dagger should be? Let's see, Derby Assassin 19 said, I don't like the later seasons. I kind of got tired of it after like the first few episodes. Like the characters that I was personally interested in, they weren't like the focus of the show. It kind of like jumps around and it talks about a whole bunch of different characters, which I totally get the appeal of that. Like The Magicians is one of my favorite shows, and it does that. But the difference between like Game of Thrones and The Magicians is that it doesn't matter who the magicians are talking about. I care about their story. But with Game of Thrones, I'd be like, there were like two people I care about, and they're not being focused on at all. So I'm like, I actually don't care about this show. Godzilla said, I like Beast Kaiju. If you like Beast Kaiju, you're probably not going to like Attack on Titan. I don't think. I'd say try it and then just see for yourself. But if you're looking for like non-human kaiju, I think Attack on Titan is like only human kaiju. I might be wrong. I haven't like seen a lot of it. It was a similar thing where I like tried. I think Attack on Titan might have lost me like within like either the first episode or the first two. But I just wasn't really interested. It's because he's holding the dagger sideways. It looks kind of weird. But at the same time, I kind of like it. Yeah, when you see it head on, I think it looks a lot more natural than when you see it from behind. You're like, what is he doing? It's like he's like roguishly holding the dagger. And I guess that's what I like about it. So that's cool. Let's see. I'm probably going to have to end the stream soon. Because soon it's going to be bedtime. Bedtime is when I talk with my girlfriend Beth for like an hour. But I don't stream during bedtime. At least not normally. So I'm going to save my progress on the Icelandish elf. Do 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 do. Let's see. It's Icelandic. I think I said Icelandish. Let's see. Icelandic. Viking. Elf. Player character, but I normally say PC. And then in brackets, I'm going to say with climbing ability. So he can climb. But he can only climb on specific surfaces. Derpy Assassin 19 said, dang, what are you doing tomorrow? Don't worry, I'll probably stream again tonight. It's just for now during the bet time, I won't be streaming. So like for the next hour, I won't be streaming. But then after that, I'll probably jump back on and like stream some more. Now what I'll stream after this, I don't know. I don't know what I'll stream after this. Maybe I'll do more dreams. I originally wanted to not only create the character, but I wanted to also create like a level that had like rock walls and like rock platforms and moss and stuff like that. Like I was going to try and create like the Vikings like home, and then I needed an enemy that made sense for him. So I was thinking I might make like rats and spiders and stuff like that. Because I'm thinking like small elves. Because in the article I read, they considered some of them to be like centimeters high or some shit. W Assassin 19's like Assassin's Creed. That's true. We do need to do more Assassin's Creed as well. So I'll be able to finally get to Odyssey. But before I can get to Odyssey, I have to finish up more of Origins. So yeah, we should probably do Assassin's Creed. I think you're right. Boom. Guys, also said Draugr. Let's see, so I'm going to end the stream for now. I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you guys like this video, make sure to smash that like button, favorite, comment, subscribe, and ding, 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 ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we do these live streams. Your host, your friendly boy, Jeff Black, going only logging out. Thank you guys for tuning in, and stay tuned for more content later tonight. Peace. Also, I may not immediately stream, like after I talk to my girlfriend. I might watch some RoboCop for a bit. Because last night, I watched 4 episodes of RoboCop Alpha Commando at 2 times speed. So like in the time of like an hour, I watched like 2 hours worth of content. I'm thinking about doing that again. But I'll talk to you guys later. Guys, said as a boss. And then Derpy Assassin says, see ya. Peace.